I think gaslighting is what people use when they feel like someone disagreed, when someone lied, or when someone invalidated what they said or how they felt.
Mm.
And those things can be a part of gaslighting. Like gaslighting always includes those, but those things are not always gaslighting.
Do you think people that are gaslighters know they're gaslighting, or do you think it's something that they're not aware they're doing? Or is it a mix?
It's a mix. Some are, you take like the extreme psychopath, they certainly know they're gaslighting. They enjoy it. They think of it as like a skill that they would love to hone. They like manipulating people, right? They get a sense of enjoyment out of that. There are some people who are just emotionally immature, inflexible, like can't imagine that their perspective isn't right. And they are inadvertent gaslighters. I don't know if one does more damage than the other, but it's not always like a thought out tactic. Sometimes
Yeah.
people just do it.
Yeah. I often wonder sometimes because I feel like I have had people in my life that were nefarious about it, but then I have people I think didn't know they were doing it at various
Yeah.
times. And at the same as the, victim or whatever of it, it is very, very much like you just start to feel like you're crazy. Like
Yes.
that those are the feelings I have. Like I'm feeling crazy because my recollection of things that happened
It's wrong.
is very clear to me, but now I'm like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
what am
What
I
did
the
happen?
problem? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That is gaslighting. That's a great example. If that's the outcome, you're probably being gaslit. If you're fighting about what happened in a conversation from a week ago and you both remember it differently, that's not gaslighting. Like that's just
Mm.
human nature is to have different memories of the same experience and to think that yours is right. And so in the book, as you know, I go through an example of what it actually is, whatever the term or diagnosis actually is, a case study
Yeah.
example, and then a definition of what it's supposed to mean, and then an example of it being misused or weaponized, and then a definition of what we're getting wrong with this term.
Yeah.
And with gaslighting, I think that's important piece is like you feel how you felt. Like I am truly going crazy. Like I guess I am wrong.
Well, and I think to go to the book, and then I've got some other terms I think are good to talk about.
Do it.
What I like about the book is, and you said you have the case study in there. I like that you actually define what these things are too, kind of in layman's terms in a non-clinical fashion, because what I do think is we're a headline clickbait. I don't even say we don't even have clickbait anymore. Like people don't click; they just read the headline. And so
Yeah.
when you see a term like gaslighting and you see it defined on a social media meme or a post or God, I mean, even a meme like where it's taking the most extreme version of it to make you
Yeah.
laugh, but it also kind of like muddies the water on what it actually is. But I think with this book, the definition of some of these terms that are and diagnoses that are thrown around so frequently, just defining them in layman's terms, I think would be very helpful for people who just don't know. And that's the thing. I don't even blame people. Like, I
Yeah.
think that the way society and social media set us up, it's a clickbait, it's a meme, it's a headline, it's a 30
Reductionist
second,
approach.
yeah, reel. And it can't. And I think therapists, for the most part, that I've seen do a very good job in their captions of saying, hey, reminder, this isn't replacement for therapy. I'm not your therapist, all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it seems to just encourage people to have these base level headline or meme versions or
Yeah.
definitions of what these terms are. And that's where maybe the core of the confusion becomes. So that's what I like about the
Yeah.
book. And I think the case studies are good too, because then you kind of humanize a person.
Yeah.
I think there was one Fiona, I remember.
Oh, is that the
Was that
borderline one?
bipolar or is that borderline? I can't remember. Those are the two of the chapters I read. I
Does
can't
she does
remember.
she chop vegetables in it?
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
bipolar. That's the bipolar one.
Yeah, that's the one. But that's what I think. That's what I like about the book is I think it kind of layman's terms it, and it doesn't get too clinical. And giving the real life examples also makes it, or the case studies makes it relatable as well. So more of these terms that get thrown around. Another one I want to talk about is red flags, which is also in the title. As someone who has had countless red flags posted across my social media over the years, I
Oh,
I look
Nick.
at it and I'm like, and I just learned what a beige flag was a few months ago, which is another one
I
I've
know.
heard thrown around. But red flag, not a clinical term,
No.
but thrown around I think everyone's been called a red flag at some point.
Yeah.
Talk to me about red flags. What are your thoughts and the
Oh, red
abuses?
flag. So again, yeah, it's not like a real clinical term. I think it has an interesting clinical application. I mean, its original meaning is red flag is like severe danger. Be scared for your life. And it's supposed to be evidence that somebody you're in any kind of relationship with is going to be a huge problem. They're going to be unsafe. They're going to be unhealthy. They're going to do damage to you in your life. You know, like someone physically harming you. Huge red flag. That means they are not a safe person. Get out. Right. But red flag, like gaslighting, has like expanded and embraced new things. And it's a lot of identifying early red flags before you get to the big red flag, right? Sort of trying to preemptively avoid stuff. And now red flag means anything and everything. It's sort of like toxic, which is also in the book. It's like,
God.
this is bad. This is bad to some degree. Be aware of this. It represents part of their personality or how they're going to be in a relationship that you should be aware of. And the problem is that we all have red flags. Like we all do things.
You know, I've got the dating event tonight, and I had to stop myself. I'm having a question to be like, what is your biggest red flag? Because
I kind of like that though, because it's saying you have one, and so does everyone else in this room that you're talking to.
I decided to change it to how would your last romantic relationship describe you?
Ooh,
as a red flag.
That's a good question.
I know. I think that's a tough one. I pity the people that get that one or have to answer that one. I don't know who I feel worse for, asking it or answering it.
Wow. That's a great one. Yeah.
Yeah. But what would be you're happily married, but what would be your red flag? Your biggest red flag?
I have so many of them. I mean, I've had a lot, especially when I was younger. I had tons of red flags. Absolute mess. I mean, my probably continued red flag is that I still struggle with not just shutting down and escaping in conflict. You know, like, and I'm aware of it, and I can now like pretty much say like, I don't think I can do this conversation anymore. Like I'm completely gone. So like I can voice that and take space. But yeah, it's really bad. I'll just be like, I'm the person who jumps to, I guess this isn't going to work out. I guess this is it. Like I just go to the catastrophic escapism. I guess this is over then. Everyone's like, what? I think that's a pretty good red flag.
That's it. That is a really good one. And you know what I think is interesting about that too is like, here you are, you're a doctor, you have your doctorate in psychology, you're a couples therapist, you know exactly what works and what doesn't work in relationships. And you can be aware enough to know that you've got some qualities that probably got to work through to make it work in a relationship.
Yeah. And I mean, that's exactly right. As I feel like I have such an acceptance for the fact that we are all works in progress forever. And there's some things that I'll be working on for my whole life and will never fix. And there'll be new things that crop up that I have to figure out and work on. And that's okay. That's just part of being a human. And if you're trying to find this like perfect human who doesn't have red flags and like the newer misused version of red flags, you're just going to end up alone.
Mm-hmm. And I think that we don't have to go in this direction, but that's trickled into dating culture. That's trickled into the loneliness epidemic, dating apps. I think people are very quick to red flag someone and go away. I found this funny reel. I'm going to send it to you when we get out of here. Because I didn't save it, but I sent it to other people. It's this guy and he's just talking about what it's like dating being a guy. Like if I don't respond quick enough, that's a red flag. If I respond too quickly, that's the ick. That's a red flag. And then if I say the wrong thing or I ask the wrong question or I wait too long to reply, like everything's a red flag. Everything you can do, everything you can't do is a red flag. And I know now when I date, I kind of lay out on the table. I'm like, here's my expectations for how this is going to go. I'm not going to play games. I'm not ignoring you. If I'm not responding, it's because I'm busy or I haven't seen it or something. It's not a game. I am going to be honest and upfront with you about where I'm at and how I'm feeling as we go through this process. Like I literally just lay it out. I lay it, but you know, it scares people. And then it's like, whoa, that's too much too soon. I'm like, I'm literally just communicating with you. It's,
Wow.
but it's
Okay,
that,
that's a red flag.
yeah,
It's too much too soon. It's too much
it's,
disclosure. Hmm.
yep. And
Yeah.
I think it's very sad because I think it gives people, like the red flag thing specifically gives people an out, but it also,
Hmm.
kind of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because we all have red flags.
Well, right. I mean, this is back to like perception is reality. Like, if you are on the hunt for red flags, you are going to find them. It's the same phenomenon as when you decide you're going to buy this new car and suddenly you see it on the road everywhere. It's because you're now focused
Mm,
on it, you're attuned to it, your mind is looking out for it and clocking it. If you are looking for red flags, you will find them. Vigilance will find them, and people are looking for red flags. It's a self protective measure, which I have such empathy for. Nobody
yeah.
wants to get hurt. Nobody wants to be caught with an abusive partner. Like, we all are trying to protect ourselves, but this has gone so overboard with now, like, nobody can be imperfect with you.
Thank you for listening to this clip from the full episode of Eyes Wide Open. Please like and subscribe for daily clips and new episodes that drop every Tuesday. I appreciate you.